Hey guys, it's Mike and Ricky, and this week on the Speaking Nerdy podcast, we're going to talk about James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Michael, how are you doing,
Hey,
sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Man, James Earl Jones. What a legend.
Oh, I know, I know.
I know. I'm I was looking through some articles, and through some of the sci-fi magazines and stuff, and different technology magazines, and just kind of on a side note, I was looking through, different types of there's some things that people used to do back in the day. And I was
Oh yeah.
reading this article about cowboys. They used hang lanterns and they would put it on their stirrups so they could,
Okay.
more
Yeah.
easily see in the trail while riding in the dark. And it's considered to be one of the earliest forms of satellite navigation. So it's kind of like a Elon Musk kind of Starlink Western.
Oh my gosh.
So
It's the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
and with my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Satellite
navigation.
Strike that one off the list. Okie dokie smoky. Wow. Hello, folks.
Oh my
If
goodness.
you're catching us, we've been kind of on a hiatus for a while, so we're getting things back to the swing of things again. This week, of course, from the previous week, we lost a outstanding actor, a legend, from voice acting to just acting in some classic films, many for us nerds and for many just some really great dramatic work.
Yep.
And it's no way to mistaken who, when you hear him, you know who it is, James Earl Jones.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll do some of our silliness like we normally do, but we're going to talk about the man here in a bit and some of the things that we remember and some of the things we enjoyed and maybe some little tidbits from, stuff that we've kind of dug up about, behind the sines and some of the things that he did. And so, but anyway, do we have, I guess, we'll, like I said, it's been a while since we've done this thing. So, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is where we go into our nerdy happenings of the week.
Definitely.
You think? Okay, let's do that.
It's time for the nerdy happenings of the week.
And I'm trying to get caffeined up so I can get, be more animated because, my goodness. So tell me, sir, what has been going on this past week, or at least, heck.
Well, I was going to say some of these aren't from the past week, but I think there's some interesting things we haven't talked about at least.
Oh, okay. Well,
so FX, you're familiar with FX, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So FX was a Fox property that got bought as part of the Fox deal. So it's technically Disney, which means Disney technically owns the Alien franchise now.
Yes.
But yes, it does. So FX, their TV station, has opted to create a Alien television series.
Okay, I heard something about this. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a thing. They're calling it Alien Earth. And they released a teaser earlier this month, back when Alien Romulus released in theaters.
Gotcha.
And
gotcha.
We're not sure. We're not really sure exactly where this is going to fall into the Alien timeline. But basic premise is a mysterious space vessel crash lands on Earth. A young woman and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers make a faithful discovery that puts them face to face with the planet's greatest threat. So that's the tagline for this new show. But we'll have to wait and see exactly. Um, Probably going to be 2025,
Yeah.
and it is expected to stream on Hulu.
Yeah. The
So,
one which is interesting, one of the cast members who is one of my favorites, Timothy Oliphant. And
oh
Timothy
yes,
Oliphant, he played in some of the Justified, which is
okay,
uh, he played in Justified on FX. He also they stream it on Hulu, and he also played the Marshall Sheriff character from the Mandalorian series in the Book of Boba
yep,
Fett. So that's interesting, and he's a good actor. So, and I think I don't know who he was going to play, but yeah, this, I guess, is like you said, it's the prequel series set 3 decades before the events of the film
yeah.
in
The article I
1979.
found
There you go.
doesn't have it has actor names, but it doesn't have character names.
Yeah, and
So
that's
I'm
one
not
thing I
sure
yeah, that's one thing
how
I
all
heard.
these are going to
Yeah,
fall.
yeah. So
But interesting.
interesting.
I'm vaguely excited about that.
Yeah,
I've made the joke for a long time that technically now Disney owns Star Wars,
yes.
Aliens,
Hmm.
and Predator. So so theoretically, you could have a mashup.
You could, and I
Please
mean,
don't.
no, I mean, even though you now see these characters like the predator walking around with Mickey Mouse ears at the amusement parks, scaring the children. But yeah, I can totally see it. Disney is a master of merchandising, and I'm sure you'll see that in a amusement park near you. So
Yep.
yeah,
So, in other news, uh, getting away from Disney for just a second,
oh good,
um, a character that is close to your heart, the Batman.
the bat.
We officially do have a spinoff that's happening. The Penguin spinoff, as of this recording, first episode is going to release
Yes,
tomorrow on
yes,
HBO Max and
yes.
will play on HBO if you're a cable subscriber,
No.
um, which I think is kind of interesting. Here's what they're going to do. So it comes out Thursday,
Hmm.
the first episode. Then on Sunday, they're going to replay that episode.
Okay.
And then from going forward after that, the new episodes are going to drop on Sundays.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But let's see. I'm trying to see how many episodes it is supposed to be. I don't see. I don't see the number of episodes right offhand. But I think it was supposed to be. Oh, sorry, 8 episodes. This is going
Okay.
to be an 8 episode series. Not super long, but not super short either. And we've got some great actors. Colin Farrell obviously is going to uh, reprise his role, and they changed his name up a little bit for this. They're calling him Oz Cobb. So like
Oscob.
throughout if you watch the trailer, they call
Yeah.
him Oz instead of Oswald. They call him Oz. Um, and then Sophia Falcone is going to be a major character, and she is the daughter of the Falcone that died in the Batman movie.
Gotcha.
And from everything from everything I gathered based on the trailers, the big focus on this is the Penguin, Oswald, Colin Farrell's character,
Hmm.
trying to basically lead what was the Falcone crime
Family.
syndicate,
Yeah.
but the daughter shows back up, and that becomes kind of the power struggle of the show.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
gonna have some anti-hero kind of feel, some you know, criminal underworld kind of feel. Just from the trailers, I don't think we're going to get any superhero kind of feel out of this.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But we get to explore more of something that looks similar to Matt Reeves' The Batman, at least that world that he's created.
Which I
So
think he's
I'm
done a
looking
great
forward
job. I
to it.
love it. Yeah, I look forward to it. I actually I saw an interview with Colin Farrell. Actually, it was an article,
Mhm.
and he talked about in his quote. He said, "I couldn't wait until I was done with this blinking series because I hated wearing the mask." He
Oh,
he said I love the series, I love the direction, I love the people, but I said having that thing on me because they layered him up. I mean, he's a pretty
mhm.
slender man, so
Oh
he's
yeah.
in there, and so he says, I never want to put that thing on again. Which is like, what does that mean? We're not going to have a season two, and so, but I'm sure they pay him enough money, he'll come back for a season two.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
absolutely, but yeah, he was just making it known how he did not appreciate or enjoyed having all the playtex and layering on his body to play that part because it looks
I
nothing like him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine that is a super hard thing to do. I remember watching a an interview with Jim Carrey
Hmm.
when he had done the Grinch, and he's
Yeah.
got full costume, full makeup, lots of latex,
Yeah.
and he said that he talked to a somebody who was an expert in torture about how to survive all that.
Wow.
And so maybe Colin Farrell needs to call this guy up
Yeah,
and
he needed some
have a
coaching.
conversation.
Yeah, he needed a yes, he needed a professional torture counselor. Yeah, yeah.
The only other thing I have is apparently the Donald Glover Lando series is still in the works over at Disney, at
Okay.
least in some form. And a recent interview with Donald Glover, he said that Star Wars needs to be more fun, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Hmm.
I think it's a little funny. You know, everything about Star Wars is, it's fantastic or it's horrible, and
Yeah,
there's no in
yeah,
between. And I
yeah,
thought his take on the idea of Star Wars needs to be fun again. And that sounds actually to me that sounds like a great direction.
yeah. I think so too. I think yeah, I agree with that. And we can talk about we can probably do the entire show just on that. But yeah, I agree
Yep.
with them. I agree with them.
So, but that's all I have on nerdy news. Do you have anything else?
No, I don't. I mean, in the gaming industry, they had Sony pulled an Apple. They released coming out probably this coming financial cycle. They're going to have announced the PS5 Pro, which is an upgrade from the PS5 that's been out, which is now which has been the current gen for past 4 years, 5 years
Yeah.
now. And of course, that usually runs about what is it, 499 for the PS5, and the Pro will go for an easily 699. That's
Ouch.
$700. Now, if you want the stand that holds it up, that's sold separate. That's probably around $25. And if you want it, by the
Now
way,
you said they pulled an Apple. Let's be
yes,
honest. If it was Apple, the stand would be $299.
that's true. That's true. It would be 299. Uh, and if you want, and if you actually want a CD-ROM drive, well, that's going to cost you another $80.
Okay,
So
I mean, Do you really need a CD-ROM drive?
It's for some of your, unless you just want to do pure digital media, but some people like the backward compatibility, so
Oh, okay.
they may have an entire library of older games
Okay.
they could put in from the
So this is a
PS4 in there.
so this is a
So
compatibility thing,
yeah,
not a
compatibility. I mean,
okay. That
yeah.
makes more sense.
I mean,
I wasn't thinking
anymore.
of it that way.
I mean, anymore, everything is digital media. So yes,
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying. But most people like the CDs, in the consoles, because if they allow them to have backward compatibility, then they can use some of their catalog of stuff from previous gen that may be compatible
Yeah.
for the current system. So
That
who
makes
knows?
more sense.
Yeah. So anyway, but a lot of people are talking about, man, you can almost build a PC for that price. But again,
Yeah.
that I'll leave that between the PC master race and the Sony lovers, and they can have a battle. We won't do that here. So that's all I have. Do you have anything else, my friend?
Nope, I don't have anything else.
All right, let's kick it off.
And that's all for the nerdy happenings of the week. Well, is it that time?
We have
Time
another.
for some stupid news.
Well, besides what we're talking about tonight, I think we should talk about things that are happening in the world because, my goodness, shouldn't the people know?
They should. It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
Well, this is probably halfway across the globe, but there's a particular case. A Greek woman has been sentenced to prison for starting wildfires in hope of sparking romance with firefighters. Yes,
Oh my
in a
goodness.
in a case that feels plucked from a wild imagination of a rom com gone bad, a 44-year-old woman from Tripoli, Greece, has been sentenced to 3 years in prison after she deliberately set two wildfires to get up close and personal with the hunky firefighters who would respond to extinguish her flames. That's right. The fires were thankfully small and quickly contained close to the municipality of Tripoli in Arcadia, Greece. The fire department has swiftly announced her arrest. Apparently, her fire starting efforts didn't make the love connection she was hoping for, and instead, now she is spending the next 3 years contemplating less destructive methods of finding love. Um, Maybe she'll give online dating a go, and though one hopes she reads the fine print, this time that it doesn't take an app called Tinder literally.
So bad.
So bad. Yeah, sorry about that. Friendly reminder. That's right. Friendly reminder. There's certain things in life people should not do, such as juggling chainsaws, playing chicken with a train, and using battery acid as mouthwash. Those are pretty good
Oh,
things. Exactly. The things you shouldn't do. And after a recent event in Warren, Ohio, let's add keeping a gun in the oven to the list. That's
oh.
right. Yes. What possibly could go wrong? That's right.
Everything could go
Everything,
wrong.
everything could go wrong. That's right. Uh, well, in Warren, Ohio, police say they solved a shooting that left a man wounded. And who was the assailant? The oven. That's right. Warren police says that the victim put the gun in the broiler because his children were coming over for dinner. His girlfriend was unaware of the gun's presence, turned on the oven, which eventually caused the firearms to go off suddenly. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt, but remember, kids, firearms belong in a lockbox and only cookies belong in the oven. Just
Oh my
keep that in
goodness.
mind. And also a neighborhood in basically in the neighborhood in, let's see, in Beaverton, Oregon. Beaverton, Oregon. A sign intended to alert neighbors about a thieving cat, that's right, has reached far beyond local communities. making a kleptomatic kitty a minor celebrity. Yes, Kate Feldmont of Beaverton, Oregon, told local news that she put up a sign so her neighbors could retrieve their belongings that had been snatched by her kitty. My cat is a thief, reads the large homemade sign, including drawings of the cat with a glove in her mouth. The next to the sign is small clothesline with numerous gloves and face mask, and so far it has worked a little bit. Filament told the local news that people come by, mostly take pictures, but we've had school bus drive-bys and many have taken a few pairs of gloves if needed. The sign has also gone viral on social media, with many Twitter users sharing tales of their own cat bringing home ill-gotten goods. One lady said, "We had a cat burglar who brought home at various times old socks, mail, photographs, and T-shirts, and a medium bag of links of cable ties." Another one says, "My cat used to come home with other collars of cats." That's right. She said, "I was convinced that my cat was a serial killer." And these were his trophies. He said, "Since then, I've kept a knife under my pillow when I sleep." And that is, my friend, stupid news.
This has been the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling. Is that where the term cat burglar comes from?
I think so. I mean, you think about it.
From a thieving cat?
Cats have they have this thing about bringing gifts to their owners.
Yes, they do.
So I guess that may be part of it.
In the past, I was a recipient of a mouse head and a small snake. That was, when I was a kid. I haven't had a cat in a long time.
Oh, I thought they were from your kids, but that's okay.
No.
That's good. That's good.
If my kids ever do that, I'm gonna be looking for another place to live.
Yeah, I would probably look for a psychiatrist, but that's okay too. So, what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about the man, James Earl Jones, and
the man, the myth, the legend.
That's right, and
that's not sarcasm.
No, it's not. No, it's not. He there's so much to say about him. He just to kind of a little bit, he was born in January 17th, 1931. And I'm going to say that Butler, Mississippi, and I believe Arca Butler, which is Arkbutla, Mississippi. So anyhow, and of course he passed away last week. I believe so. So today we're kind of giving a nod towards him. He, it's amazing to me. I'm looking through his bio, and he's done a lot of, I was looking, we know he did some voiceovers, but a lot of, he's done a lot of work on stage,
Oh, yeah.
Tony Awards for Best Actor for his portrayal for different, portrayal of a boxer, Jax Johnson, in The Great White Hope. And then he made a Broadway debut in 1957 and 1969. And I'm looking through his career, and he came about in a time that was very difficult, for black actors to really succeed in the business. He had a lot. You think about all that he had against him, just because of the color of his skin, and then on top of that, he was born with a stutter. The man who was fluent with the word, the man who did the voiceover of the King James Bible, man who spoke Shakespeare, had to deal with a stutter, with severe stuttering, and if you think about it, man, how do you come from that? And many of the people, for the longest time, there was, did not know this. It was not something that was promoted, and of course, especially in his early years, because, he started, I think his first film, a major film, which he played a bomber pilot in Doctor Strangelove, which was a strange movie. Of course, the title.
Yes, yes.
It's
That one's I didn't even realize that that was
I
him.
didn't know either. I had no clue. I had to look it up, and sure enough, and it's probably because we're used to seeing him in the '80s. We used to seeing
Yeah.
his different characters in the '80s and the '90s, and of course, this past couple of decades. So most of his work, I hadn't been really familiar with what he did, during the in the late '50s, '60s, and then in the '70s. And there's, but he's primetime Emmy winner. I mean, it was, I mean, there's so much in his career that, and some of my favorite films.
I was gonna say you mentioned Emmy winner. So if you're not super familiar on the awards circuit, an Emmy is for TV.
Yeah,
So when I think of James Earl Jones, I think of movies.
I do
But
too. Yeah,
it astounds me that two of his first credits on IMDb are from soap operas
yeah,
in the 60s.
yeah.
He was on Guiding Light and on As the World Turns, and in
That's
both
something.
instances, he played a doctor.
Yeah, that's
Two
amazing to
different
me.
doctors,
Two different
but I'm
doctors.
like, it never would have occurred to me that that's where he would have gotten his start in the 60s.
Yeah. And there's several, because I think that's what's fascinating. We know as nerds what James Earl Jones is to us. We know him, the
Oh yeah.
voice, Darth Vader. Uh, he that has been him from the very beginning for us. Some of the stories that behind that, because of Star Wars. I think originally, I think he was paid $7,000 to do the voice
What?
acting
Okay,
of that.
so here's what I found on that.
Okay, go
Speaking,
ahead.
of, funny that you said that. I just saw this.
Yeah,
Um, it listed two salaries that he earned. It doesn't have
yeah.
all of them, just these two.
No.
But on Star Wars: A New Hope in
Hmm.
1977, he earned $9,000
Okay, it
for
was
his
nine
voice work.
thousand. Okay,
And then in Coming to America, 1988, 11 years later, he received $900,000.
interesting. $900,000.
So in the course of 11 years, he greatly increased his value.
Yes, I know exactly. Well, and they've used his voice. I mean, in all the in all this. I mean, from Obi-Wan Kenobi, they used his voice in Rogue One. Anywhere that even in animated series, they used his voice. What I thought was interesting, though, he did not want a cast credit. He wanted to be seen as in the beginning. He said a sound effect. Did you happen to see
I did
that?
not see
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
No.
it was. I thought that was interesting.
Huh.
Let's see here under my notes here. Let's take a look at my notes here. Star Wars, yes. Jones provided the menacing voice of Darth Vader as well in Rogue One and the original trilogy. He wasn't physically on screen. His vocal performance, okay, we know that. But let's see here. Oh, okay, here we go. Uncredited work. And it was uncredited work in New Hope in 1977, despite providing the iconic vote. It's interesting. He believed that David Prowse, the actor who officially portrayed Darth Vader, deserved the credit, seeing his contribution as
Hmm.
purely vocal. And
Interesting.
then, and he said, "Man, now on my notice says he was paid just $7,000 for Darth Vader in A New Hope." But again, that could have been
Mhm.
some other stuff too on
Yeah.
top of that. Uh, so anyway, that I thought that was interesting. I mean, I am your father. Uh, well, and also too, it's that I am your father's secrecy. And The Empire Strikes Back. The twist where Darth Vader reveals that he is Luke Skywalker's father. Was, it was one of the biggest kept secrets, because most people, honestly, how often can you keep secrets in Hollywood, right?
Oh, I know.
Ask Tom
Yeah.
Holland. So, ask Tom
Not a good
Holland.
example.
Not a good
Not a good
example.
example.
So it was kept secret from everyone on the set. The only person who knew was one. They told Mark Hamill, and they threatened him, to make
Yeah.
sure. So
Yeah.
so
The
there's only a few people that
yeah,
knew.
as the story goes, Mark, as Mark Hamill tells it,
Yes,
um, he said, the director, and I can't remember the director for Empire. George Lucas did not direct that one.
yes,
He had someone else direct it. But the director came to Mark Hamill and said, George knows, I know, and now you know. And if anybody else knows, we'll know who told.
exactly. See, everyone thought that he was going to say Obi-Wan killed your father.
Well,
And
and
then,
apparently on set, that's what Prowse said.
yeah,
From what I had read,
I
that's actually what Prowse said on set, and that's part of the reason no one else knew until the till the debut.
interesting. So I didn't hear that, but that sounds about right.
Because
So
I mean,
so
otherwise,
Mark Ham, that's right.
everybody on,
That's right. The whole
yeah,
idea, yeah,
the director came to Mark Hamill and said, "Okay, Prowse is going to say this, but that's not true. That's not accurate. We're actually going to replace it with this line, and that's where the 'I am your father.'"
apparently Harrison Ford had a few words with him. Hey, kid, for Mark Hamill,
Yeah,
yeah,
uh, you didn't tell
uh,
me that.
kid,
Yeah,
and so yeah,
but James Earl Jones is such an icon and such an amazing actor. Uh,
the
and
one, yeah,
his voice is so resonant and so it, I get some compliments on my voice from time to time,
hmm,
but I dream of sounding like James Earl Jones.
yes,
You
yeah,
know, to have that kind of gravitas when I talk.
yeah, yeah,
That kind of commanding, when you hear the voice that you perk up and you listen, and
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
happens when I hear James Earl Jones speak.
Yeah, when he speaks, you listen.
Absolutely.
He has such a real gentle spirit about him when he speaks, and one of my favorite characters, he portrays different characters. Of course, we all know him
Hmm.
from The Lion King,
Yeah.
where he's done, the voice acting there. He's done a lot of voice acting in commercials too, which I didn't, which I, he's the voice of CNN, for in the very
Yes.
beginning stages of the time. But, you
There's
know,
a comment I read.
yeah,
I think it was a quote from a interview, and James Earl Jones said, "Oh no, it's from his book, from a
okay.
book. Basically, his a story of him. I don't remember what the title of the book is, but he says, "My voice is for hire, but my he doesn't say recommendation, um, but basically anybody can pay me to say whatever they want, but um, but I don't willingly give my you know
Endorsement or,
endorsement. That's the right
okay.
word. I
Yeah,
don't give my endorsement to anything. So
exactly. I
just
hear.
because I voiced it doesn't mean I
Doesn't mean I,
endorsed it."
exactly. So you don't have
But
to buy
I
that
thought that was
vehicle.
interesting.
One character we were going through. I mean, there's a lot of them I don't know, but one film that I remember seeing as a kid and seen it a couple of times, but I never recognized that he was a major part of the film was Conan the Barbarian.
I know. I don't even remember that scene.
Yeah, I don't either, but it's been such a long time. But
True,
uh,
true. I haven't seen that movie in decades.
yeah, he said it was kind of behind the scenes. They said he had a lot of issues with the helmet. They
Hmm.
were saying that during the filming, Jones, his character wore this large elaborate helmet, and the helmet was too heavy and uncomfortable that Jones had to remove it between takes. And so, but it became part of his evil character's imposing look, because of the discomfort. Uh, Also, too, he had to you know, he had to do swords. He had to do a sword fighting scene with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which he says he wasn't. He had minimal sword fighting experience, but he went through like this rigorous training to prepare for those scenes.
Hmm.
So but yeah, throughout the whole thing, he had something about these costumes back in the '80s that were you had to really I guess like Colin Farrell, who had to wear the makeup on top for the penguin. I don't know if back then I think the props were a little less you know what would I say, functional.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
That's probably the right
yeah.
word.
The Batman suit anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Not every costume is functional and comfortable. Sometimes it just looks good on screen.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So, so I think it's interesting, like that James Earl Jones. I made the comment that he said his voice was for hire.
Yeah,
Um, and he was legitimately like a working actor kind of guy.
yeah,
If you look at his IMDb from 1977, like he did seven or eight different things that year,
yeah,
and most of them were small.
yeah,
They were not big things he was doing, but he worked on a regular basis.
yeah.
And then he got to do, exciting things,
Hmm.
like Star Wars A New Hope that everybody thought was going to be horrible and wouldn't go anywhere. Uh, um, but then he had to do things that, after Star Wars went so well, he got to do some things that everybody thought was going to be fantastic, like the Star Wars Holiday Special or the story of the faithful Wookiee that he did in 1978.
Again, like you said before, they can hire my voice, but doesn't mean you can
uh,
hire my voice.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
but it's just so interesting his long career. He was in an ABC after school special,
yeah,
you know, just one of them. But uh, anyway, I just think it's fascinating that he was not afraid to do smaller parts and things that weren't going to be necessarily amazing. But then he got opportunities to do some great stuff.
I mean, yeah, he did. I mean, you look through there. He played, he narrated the voice, and it was uncredited for Judge Dredd. He a lot of, like you said, he was an actor's actor. He worked. He was a working actor.
Yeah.
It shows that he played a voice of in Stargate stuff that I had new. Looking at it now, I had no idea. Like Stargate SG-1.
Yeah.
Apparently, he played a voice in that. There was one here. Picket Fences, Clean Slate, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Something I've never heard of, Meteor Man. Now, of course, one we have heard of, which is one of my favorites, is The Sandlot. And The
Yep.
Sandlot is it was pretty awesome movie. It's
And he
kind
had
of
that was a great character.
It was a great
He,
character for him. Yeah.
yeah. And then he's in he, I forget. Like I would see him in films and then I would
Yeah.
forget he was in them because
Hmm.
he wasn't like the lead. He wasn't the main person on
Yeah.
screen. So things like The Hunt for Red October, I forgot he was in that.
Oh yeah, great. I love that.
Um, I kind of remembered he was in Coming to America.
Yes.
And it he had such a good range that he could play humorous and he could play serious.
Yeah.
And he's not one of these actors that's like, yeah, I'm only going to do these certain things. Because then he does things like, goes on Big Bang Theory as a even more humorous version of himself
Exactly. Yeah.
and he just has fun with it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's hysterical, that whole bit.
Yeah.
Like, I, the funniest part to me on that is, if you haven't watched that episode, you need to go find it and watch it. Is it, is it just me, or did he act like a really bad actor in that episode?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Like it was like somebody told him, okay, you're gonna play yourself, but we want you to play like the most over the top yourself you could possibly be.
Yeah, the
And that's
caricature of
exactly what
himself.
he
It's like,
did.
yeah, he played
Yes,
the
like a
caricature of
caricature
himself.
of
Yeah.
himself. And
Yeah.
it's the most hysterical thing.
And it worked.
It totally does. It totally does.
I mean, I'm looking at some of the stuff that, um, of course, he did. He wasn't afraid to do, like, animated storybooks of The Lion King, which is, the commercial type of stuff he did. So, like you said, he wasn't afraid. Third Rock from the Sun. Did not know that.
Oh, I did not realize he was
Yeah,
in an episode of Third
he
Rock.
was a narrator, voice uncredited, and he was there for
Oh.
19 episodes apparently.
Oh, so he would have. I don't. Man, it's been so long since I've seen that
Yeah, I
show.
know.
Was that like intro? Like, was that like was there like a narrator at the beginning of each episode that said, kind of what was going on? I don't
I get,
remember. I'd
yeah.
have to go back and look at that.
Well, it was on it. How sometimes it was on the first season. So I bet you how some when you have new shows, the first season is all about the setup, right?
Yeah.
And it's part of the introduction of the show, during the credits and everything. And then the second season, they just say, okay, if you've been following for a whole season, we can just now get into a different type of intro to the show. And that may be it. Because I've seen that. You can always tell on a show when it's gone to another season because they change up the way their intro is. So,
yeah. So maybe it was an intro that kind of explained the intro, that what was going on. Do you remember him in Naked Gun? The third Naked Gun?
I don't. I saw this on his credit.
And it says he played himself. I totally don't remember that.
I don't remember it either. I don't. I mean, it shows, of course, on The Simpsons. So I can see him. He was on 3 episodes of The Simpsons. In another one, he played in the TV show called Recess. He was a Santa Claus.
Oh, I remember Recess. My kids watched that.
Yeah,
that's a great little cartoon. I didn't realize he played Santa Claus in that.
Yeah, he did. He was in the Sandlot 2, which I did not see. Sandlot 2.
Oh, I never saw that one.
In that. He played in House. He played in. Also played Touched by an Angel, which is an old one. Michael Landon, that whole thing back in the past. And Interesting. I mean, I'm just going through this catalog of stuff that he's done. I'm surprised, and it really surprised me how much television he did. Because when, like
Yeah.
we talked about earlier, for me, I always think about movies, and
And that is unusual in itself.
yeah,
Most actors, a lot of actors, not I probably most is probably the right term.
hmm,
Most actors are very reluctant if they're in movies. They're very reluctant to jump to TV
yeah.
because they think it will reduce their credibility or reduce their people being interested in them in movies.
I think
So
that a
you
lot of them,
very
yeah, yeah,
rarely see people bounce back and forth.
yeah,
Now you'll have people like you'll have people like one of the actresses on Friends,
yeah,
where she's in a long TV series, and then she Jennifer Aniston, then she
yeah,
jumped over to movies.
yeah.
But once she made the jump, you didn't tend to see her come back
No,
until fairly recently.
yeah,
Um,
not, yeah.
and that's pretty normal for actors.
It
They
is. I think,
either get into the TV zone and that's where they live, or they
yeah.
get into the movie zone and that's where they live. And James Earl Jones seems to have really hopped back and forth very easily.
Because I think his talent, it's no way to typecast him. I mean, I think that's what a lot of actors get concerned about TV or going back to TV is they're afraid to be put in this box, being typecast. Is this is the
Mm.
only characters you can play? And of course, when you're a movie star and you get to the point where it doesn't matter anymore, you can come back to TV. But you look throughout his entire catalog. I mean, throughout the years, he's gone back and forth. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. There's not like there's a large span of time of him just doing movies, and
Hmm.
then he does TV,
Yeah.
and then movies. So, I mean, you can look through there and you look throughout I mean, like here in 19, what is it, 64. I mean, there's one, two, three, four, five different things he's done in 1964. Now, it may
Hmm.
not have been major roles, but it's like he's played a lot of these different small parts or done some voiceover acting in some way.
Yeah.
So, and even if it's not credited, he was just, I want it to act. I want it in the business. Show me the money so I can eat. It's kind of one of
Yep.
those things. Yeah. So yeah, in Roots, Roots, the
Yep.
Next Generation was one he did. Yeah.
I
So
didn't. I don't know that I realized he was a voice actor. He was one of the voices in the movie Robots, that Robin Williams movie.
oh, I well,
Do you remember that movie?
I remember watching it, and I always like listening for the voices. But
He
you
was
think
the voice box at the hardware store. Apparently, that's
interesting?
like a
Okay.
little bit part.
For someone who has the quality of voice that he has, and I'm thinking,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
yeah,
that's
okay,
so funny that he takes these little parts and then he does these. Then he'll do this huge movie, and yeah, I just think it's fascinating. And then he was the narrator in Scary Movie 4.
which is it's such, yeah, not the first one or the second one. It's like
No,
four.
no, 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 number 4.
Uh, it's fascinating to me that
But
he
then
just,
later, then like 2 years, 3 years later, he was in a random episode of House.
yes, I so apparently, like he said, he said my voice is for hire. That doesn't mean that I endorse this product.
Yeah,
And because some of these I'm going, someone with his pedigree, I would not see him being on Scary Movie 4 or Two and a Half Men or or
yeah.
just a little bit part in Robots or some obscure sequel of a show that probably nobody has watched. But again, James Earl Jones, he, you know, my voice is for hire.
Yeah.
So, but then you turn right around and he'll do Sandbox, he'll do something, he'll, Star Wars, The Lion King, uh, the Clear and Present Danger, which is part of the whole Jack Ryan series, which
Yep.
was done a great job. Anyway, it's amazing his catalog in it. You can tell that he loved doing it. He wasn't you can tell by his catalog what he has. He was not,
Hmm.
what's the word? He didn't take himself serious.
Yeah. He didn't take himself too seriously, and he was willing to work.
Yeah.
I hear and see so many actors that's like, well, that's below me.
Yeah, exactly.
He strikes me as, just looking at his catalog, he
Yeah.
strikes me that of someone who would never say that's below me.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
maybe there are things he turned down for, various reasons,
Yeah.
but not because the part was too small,
Yeah.
or because, if there's anything he turned down, I think it must have been for some personal reason.
Yeah. And I can see
This
that.
is, maybe, I don't know what it would be. I mean, if it's in Scary Movie 4, what did you,
So,
I mean,
yeah,
how,
where's the
I
bar,
mean,
right?
yeah, I was gonna say, how low does the bar have to be before he says he won't do
'cause-
it?
exactly, exactly. It's
Oh
almost a
my
Samuel L.
goodness.
Jackson. Uh,
So,
just like,
does this mean we will never hear Darth Vader's voice again?
oh man, that's interesting, and that's because if looking through, up to the point I'm looking through, I'm looking through all the movies and the ones that they've done later, which we mentioned before.
Yeah.
Rebels, the Star Wars Rebels. He did the voice for that. Um, you know, I don't know, and because what kind of of course now, with AI and with what we've seen before, Disney can definitely use his voice and
They could
manipulate it the
definitely
way they
clone him.
want. But
Yep.
what's the legalities to it? That I don't know.
Yeah.
What's so that
Can
I
they
don't know.
legally do
Can they
it?
do that?
Do they have to,
And this
if
has
they
been
can, do they have to pay somebody?
some royalties of some kind to his family or something like
Yeah.
that. That'd be fascinating to find out. You know that Disney, their brain trust, they probably have already talked about this years in advance. So
Mhm.
I'd be surprised if something has not been in place. But or maybe Disney think they can just do what they want to do and do it. But
Oh, so I just found an article,
yeah,
and this is specifically about him the um, in the Obi-Wan Kenobi
hmm,
series. It says it was later revealed Jones had signed over the rights to his archival voice work to
okay,
Lucasfilm,
okay,
and his performance had been created from that work using AI startup, respeecher.
okay. Well, that
So
there you
if he
go.
signed it over, I'm sure they have some kind of agreement. Maybe his, maybe some relative of his gets
Family of some kind,
royalties when they
royalties.
create
Yeah,
something new from him. Either
yeah.
that, or he just got a really, really big fat check one time that he can pass down.
And that could be it. That could be it. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, I don't see
So I
Darth
guess
Vader.
we will see a posthumous James Earl Jones on some future Star Wars stuff.
I wouldn't doubt that. I don't think his voice is ever going to go away. So
No,
no. Well, folks, I tell you what, this is tonight was a little different. We just wanted to celebrate the man, the
absolutely.
legend. Um, I know this was a little bit different than what we normally do, but uh, me and Ricky both felt like it was just. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
if you have any comments down below, talk about your favorite moments, your favorite James Earl Jones moments, whether it's TV or articles or something you've heard about. Just put them down below, and you can check us out on speakingnerdy.com. We've got
Mhm.
everything there, all our shows, podcast, even the shop, it's there. Check it out. We're also on our Facebook page, and also Speaking Nerdy on YouTube. We're there as well. And so just check us out on all our platforms. Anything you want to add to that, sir?
Just one last thing,
Yeah.
and this is we didn't make a big deal of this,
No,
mostly because we wanted to celebrate James Earl Jones tonight.
that's true. That's
But
true.
this is best of our understanding. This is episode 200 of the Speaking Dirty podcast, or
200.
whatever it was called in the past.
200.
This is yes.
Man, we
We
don't have
have
like any.
produced 200 episodes over the many years that you and I have been talking into microphones.
200
Yep.
episodes. That is a lot of wasted storage. That's amazing. that, that's wow.
And it's even more astounding to me. It's even more astounding to me in that, when my wife got sick, we took like a year off.
Yeah, I know.
When you moved out to the country, we took months and months off.
Yeah.
And we've still managed to put out 200 of the craziest, weirdest stuff
Yeah.
I can ever imagine.
Yeah. And it's going to get
Congratulations,
weird.
my friend.
Congratulations to you. We're going to try to make it even weirder, and we might even break the 100 slot. So that'd be awesome. The How many people do we have? I want to do that. We're celebrating. So yeah, it's awesome. Pretty awesome. That's hard to believe. It's hard to
Yeah.
believe. Man, 200. Well, so you know what, folks? I mean, you can celebrate by giving to our and sponsoring us.
Absolutely.
But seriously, yeah, you can check us out on
You
the
can
Facebook.
definitely hire our voices.
Oh yes.
And honestly, you could probably pay us for our endorsement.
Oh yeah.
It won't get you anything, but you could
No, I
definitely
mean,
pay us for
I will. Yeah, we'll shill it. I don't care. It's okay. We'll actually endorse it.
it.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it's good for you. It's good for me. Drink it. It's only battery acid. Anyway, so
That's all I got, man.
that's all I got. So let's tie it up in a nice little bow for the people.
This has been the Speaking Dirty podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Pope.
Michael.
I mean, if you really want to be James Earl Jones, there's some things we can do to work on. I mean, you've seen Tropic Thunder.
Oh, that one hurt.
We just got canceled.